Okay. Yeah, why don't we both leave and then pop back in and see what
Okay.
happens?
Sounds good.
Okay.
See you soon.
Yep.
There we go.
Hey, all right. Sorry for the delay for anybody watching. Technical difficulties. We had to turn it off and restart it. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the March 2023 State of the Market. We are, it's a wonderful day. We got the Happy Birthday Al band going.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. Nice to be getting older.
Oh, yeah. It's better than not.
Wiser, you know.
There, both.
There you go.
So, yeah, we had, seems like, maybe things have kind of started to settle a bit. We're seeing less activity, but a lot of, like, particularly in the Discord, seems to be a little bit lighter. You see the same faces for the most part, but we have had a decent amount of people joining. So not sure what's happening there, but that's a good sign, I guess. There's still people interested in joining in. So yeah, anything new for you collecting wise or noticed in the market?
Not a ton. I mean, I do like some of. Surprisingly, I've noticed a number of modern cards that I kind of liked. I've been picking up some unopened stuff. Things like these types of packs.
Oh yeah.
I've always found these to be kind of really important to the hobby. Just got some more messy packs. So I've always kind of liked the packs, and I'm going to be doing a pack submission to PSA. What other stuff? I mean, just little odds and ends, little things at PWCC. Nothing that kind of shocks the world. So I mean, not anything massively exciting, but again, just a collector build, right?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of, a lot of people who join the Discord, there were some people commenting on how slow the Discord is, and it's like, well, I mean, welcome to vintage collecting. This is more what real life is about in collecting vintage cards. And there's not like all this stuff that's new coming out all the time, right? It's like we might see stuff time to time that's discovered, or like an exciting amount of things coming up for sale, but for the most part, it's a slow, steady crawl, and just the big driver is just additional collectors. So
yeah, and I think one thing that I continue, I mean, like, and we had mentioned this, I think on our, I can't remember if it was our last State of the Market or we had mentioned it in one of our premium videos, is just that there was a time there where a lot of things that we used to think were rare, we were starting to question because one would sell. I think we used the Forza Gold Baggio. One would sell, and then next month another one was up, and then the next month, and we had like 4 or 5, 6 months where those were up, and now the pop is kind of settled, kind of where we thought, pretty dang rare for an important rookie card. And now you start to think about when's the last time we saw a Pele Alifia, be auctioned, and even lower grade. And we used to see a couple of those a month, right?
Yeah.
And now we're seeing months go by where we don't see even one, whether it's a 3, a 5, or a PSA 1. And I think that's kind of what Bill's referring to, I think, about back to normal. That doesn't mean that we won't see things happen like the Kamler Sorosi's, where one comes out and sells, and then other people that have that specific card, there'll be a few. But I think, the days of incredibly rare, you know, 50 different pre-war cards, being sold, and then the same cards being sold a month later are likely behind us. And I think that's good for the hobby.
For sure. Yeah, it's just more
Because,
consistent.
yeah, it's more consistent. It's and they're getting in hands of collectors as opposed to just flippers or people looking to make a buck. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the overarching thing, that I think I'm seeing. It doesn't mean there isn't good stuff out there. I mean, there was a really nice R9 PSA 8. What was it? 19 El Mundo Deportivo. There was there've just been some nice stuff, pretty rare, Zico rookie. You don't see a lot of those, you see, you see some stuff out there that certainly is interesting. And then, we're still a little plagued by some inconsistent grading, frankly. I mean, we have to call it what it is. And, that's a little frustrating. I think somebody had a great post in the Discord where they said, isn't it? Oh, I think it was it Steve Lum, where he says, it's unfortunate that I have to, it was a World Cup 1970 sticker. It's unfortunate that I have to flip every scan over on a PSA 8. And then there was a big sticker mark, which obviously it should have been a PSA 1 or 2. And that's kind of where we are right now. You got to look at the scans of everything you buy. And that's super annoying, because that's what you are hoping to get from a grading company, is some sort of consistency. So that's the 35,000 foot view right now as we finish the first quarter of 2022. I like where we are. I think it's a perfect place to continue to build collections.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just had a note, excited for this one, respect the consistency. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. We've been doing these for a minute now, right? Like, it's probably coming up on, I guess, almost 3 years. Well, at least 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So, well, let's get this party started then. This is the birthday party edition. So,
I feel like I should be having cake right now,
I basically, I have the PWCC Premier, whatever. Yeah, Premier. Then I have the Golden Elite, but then I pulled a few from the weeklies just so we can kind of look at a couple of noteworthy cards in those as well. So, so let's get this started with the Premier, PWCC Premier. There's 8 items. So let's see. Yeah. So this is what we have for that. We have the 58 the Queagle. Not sure it's 58 anymore, right? That was just an old grade. So 8,400 for a 3.5.
So those have been on a precipitous fall.
Yeah.
And partly because of the year, but we have always said for the last few years that these weren't, going to be 1958s. It's still a beautiful sticker, and I think that's on a relative basis, certainly over where prices over the last 3 years, represents a significant fall for an important sticker. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about 8,400? Maybe it's still a little rich in this market. If you're considering it a 60, it's a little light. If you're considering it a 58, what do you think?
I mean, we've talked about this. I mean, it's not necessarily my favorite of his issues, but I mean, it's definitely a very popular one.
And it should be, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, it's just a personal preference thing for me. I think that, this is a well-centered one, relative to many of them that I see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel it's still a little pricey, I guess, but it's, I can't you know, I understand for at that price for that grade, it looks decent. You know what I mean? Like, I just think especially when you're comparing it to prices from a year or two ago, where like, you know, twos were going for 5 digits. So, um,
Yeah.
you know, seeing a 3.5 for 8,400, you know, that can potentially look pretty good to somebody who's been looking to add one of these.
Yeah. I mean, I think it feels to me, I has always felt like a staple in a important early Pele collection. And I think that will continue.
Yeah.
It's a nice copy. It's 8,400, so a lot of money in this current market. So, you know, it's probably in the realm of fair. Although my first reaction was that's a little rich for, you know, a 1960 sticker if you think that it's there, but especially in a 3.5. But you know, I wouldn't fault, because like you say, this one had a good decent cut on it. Most of them have part of another sticker either on the top, bottom, or left or right. So it's a good one, and I would rather spend the 8,400 on that than the terrible Maradona next to it.
Just a couple of comments. Us in Europe, Sport Card Harry, us in Europe, thank you for the early live. Yeah, we kind of are all over the map, but usually we do them in the evenings here in the Eastern time zone in the US. So we know it's usually late for you guys in Europe, but glad you guys could join us. And first time here, thanks for the stream. Appreciate it, guys. So yeah, let's get to this PSA 5 Maradona.
This just pains me. This just pains me to see this.
Which is just it's
here. Like, can you click on that?
Dirt.
Or does it? Will it not work? Yeah, it's just. I don't know if people saw this. We talked about this one on the Discord. This is just a travesty.
Yeah, gosh. Like, I don't. Can you see that pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, okay. I can see what it is. It's not. That's clearly not what a PSA 5 looks like.
Yeah, that's like a 1. Is my best guess.
It's just rough.
And to be honest, when you blow it up, that almost looks dot matrixy.
Yeah, it looks like we got no pogs on this one.
Yeah.
You've got no clarity. Now it's off center and all the ink is weird anyway. You've got no clarity on the letters. You can't read Asociación Juniors at all. None of the letters.
Oh, yeah. Like, usually you can see this pretty well.
Yeah, you can see all but like 2 letters well on a nice one. I mean, this thing is like screen. It's almost like they faked it and they tried to make it look like it got, was run over by a car, just to make it look more authentic. And that's the biggest waste of 8,400 I've seen in a while. I mean, go throw yourself a hell of a birthday party for that.
Yeah, or L one.
Yeah, or you can throw me one. Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, there's been a lot of conversation on Discord about these discs, and some really good information provided as to just kind of being a good judge of these and determining if you feel comfortable buying them as like a good investment. And sometimes we think that or certain people believe that some of these have been graded and probably shouldn't have made it through the authenticity portion. And so, and we tend to agree.
Yeah.
So, just be careful. And if you're not sure, and you guys aren't a part of the Discord, might be worth joining just to, get more information on something like that. Okay. So then the next one we have here is,
hey, why don't you jump to the other 6?
Oh, sure.
Maradona 6, just so if people, no, it was right there, it was right next to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so that people can see that aren't familiar with it. I'm imagining most people are. Just the difference in resolution and the pogs. I don't like these videos.
Yeah, they just get in my way.
Yeah. So there you can see on the 6, you can see these pogs on the side, which sometimes they overgrade. they over or undergrade, meaning that PSA or SGC will either not take into account as a natural part of the card, which is what happened here in this SGC 6, or some graders may say, oh, well, look at that's a damage in the side, PSA 1, right? Type of thing. And this one, you can kind of see if you go, look, I'm looking at your screen and pointing to mine. So you can clearly read it, here, much better resolution here.
Yeah, like these here, I don't see any dot matrixy because these weren't printed like with a dot matrix printer. They're printed with, a press, which is just pressing the ink down onto it. So you're not going to see, it look like that other one looked.
So this one, obviously, it went for double what the other one went for, but much, much nicer, very solid. If that was a PSA 6, it probably would have been, instead of an SGC 6, probably double that, I would guess.
Yeah, I would think so as well.
It's still a beautiful Pog that in every way looks exactly how I'd expect those to look.
Yep. And all right, now we have a Bass PSA 8. Seen a few of these pop up now and again. These kind of have settled down a little bit in price. So this is a 12,000, which is notably less than what we had been seeing before this. Good copy, it's a little off center.
It's slightly like that. That's the only thing that held me back from this. I think there's great value in this card. I mean, it's sharp as hell.
Yeah.
It's the centering.
It's very noticeable.
So. Yeah, it's like too fat on the left, and it just annoys my OCD eye. But I still love, like, if you tell me $12K for a best PSA 8.
Yeah, that seems like a good price.
It feels like you're going to do well in the long run there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, I agree.
So it just, for me, with that little off center, I just didn't feel like I needed to jump in based on other stuff that I have. But
you have other copies. So
I just think that this is going to, this though, for the buyer, I think they did well here.
Yes, I would agree with that. Here's another comp. Hoping to see more Bloomer Meredith representation in these marketplaces. Yeah, I think a lot of the sellers are just a little hesitant to put out a lot of stuff. We see some of that in the PWCC auctions.
The weeklies, especially.
But, yeah, particularly the weeklies. But, I think a lot of people are a little hesitant to list those right now. Like, I'm not moving any of mine. So, I mean, maybe some of the more, populous ones, I would think that, we might see a little bit more of moving forward. But, I think people don't feel the market for that is mature yet. So they don't really want to prematurely get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, here's a couple Aquarellas, a PSA 5, a PSA 6, 10-8 for the 5, 16-8 for the 6. So still holding their values. They're doing pretty well.
They are.
So, I mean,
we've spent a lot of time talking about how these, how do you grade them on the perforations and not being able to usually tell a big difference between the graded ones here. But, it's really the echelon. It becomes very, very rarefied air here in the 5, 6, 7 categories. I think there may even be an 8 now. There's let's see, I can't even read how many of them are, but I think there's like less than 20 graded higher than a 5 or something. So if you're definitely in one of those, hey, I want to be, have a top 20 Pele rookie that's really attractive, then, it's still going to cost you 10 grand, for it. So, for me, this has never been a sticker that I stretch for the grade, because I don't notice a ton of difference between the grades and the mostly blank back and the perforations all over the board. It's kind of a little bit like that Maradona 77 disc, about to the eye of that specific grader, what's their particular preference. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, do you feel more comfortable like when they're grading cards? Like you feel pretty good
I
with
feel
the grades and those more so, but stuff that's a little like outside of the typical American trading card, I think weighting the grade could be a mistake if you're
yeah.
looking at it as purely financial reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, still, and we said this from our probably first show. I mean, since a lot of the sticker market is is unstuck from albums, you always want to be aware that that the determining factor on all those, PSA 1 and 2 like material is going to be your eye appeal. So,
Right.
you can have things that were removed well and things that weren't removed well, but they should all technically grade in a very narrow range. Yeah, you can find these never stuck things, but I think that they've been making some mistakes in the never stuck items, as well. So you just got to be aware of that. And I don't know, as a collector, I don't feel. I mean, I have a number of cards that are the highest graded, and some of those I actually bought while the market was going up. So, those are kind of investment pieces, but I look at them different from just other pieces that I have in my collection, if that makes any sense.
So, all right, this is the Golden Elite auction that ended last night. So I just have these sorted by the highest dollar amount. But before we get to that, there was a question for you, Al. If you had $500 to buy a Pele now, what would your choice be? It's hard to think. Like
Yeah,
what's at that price point?
yeah. I think for $500, you're largely out of the 1950s.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, could you get like a Bremer, like one of the like a PSA 1 Bremer with one of them that doesn't have his name on it, but has
yeah, and certainly one that didn't have maybe that has the back damage isn't bad, right?
Yeah.
That's not a bad one. What I've seen, and I think there's one in this auction. I don't know where it ended, and it probably is above $500, but I still continue to be a huge fan of the titulares that we went over, and in terms of the population growth, which has been almost nil, and the attractiveness of the sticker, the fact that it's issued in Brazil is 1958. So I think there's a lot of stuff there. But I think if I had to go, and I don't have every Pele card last price memorized,
Right.
but I'd probably say just on the trade-off of attractiveness and rarity, that 1962-63 San Giorno set out of Italy that he has two different numbers in it, 10 and I forget the other one, but where he's kind of looking up at the camera. Do you have a visual on that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking. The San Giorgio. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he's got the the yellow jersey on, and what color is the background? Blue?
Yes. Yes, like a light blue, I think.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
What about an Argentinian crack?
Yeah, like an Argentinian crack. Are those? I kind of think in my mind those are going for a little more.
They were, but they've kind of come down a bit. So
yeah,
like,
so those are beautiful
ones
cards
for that price. About
yes. So the 66 and 65 of those are both great. They're cards. They have some really nice, just visuals to them. I think those are three things that I would look at, and I wouldn't
70 Panini World Cup.
Those are always super classic, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a super underrated stat still to this day. I'd kind of prioritize hey, thanks, Seb. I'd kind of prioritize those if I went with the 70 to likely the international back, red and black first. I mean, you can't get for $500 the blue and red hand cutbacks, but you can You could get a red and black first, if not the Beast Valida second, and then I'd go greenbacks third as a matter of preference. But those are four good options. I like those. I like those 65, 66 crack out of Argentina, especially if you're a card collector.
Yeah.
I think that's probably those are probably really nice ones. And again, it could be low grade PSA 1 or 2, but there's some really nice 1 or 2 crisp pictures, nice centering, registration. So yeah, those are 4 good options.
All right, so why don't we start doing some scrolling here? Stop me if anything catches your eye.
I mean, of course, some of these modern things up there just caught my eye because they're big, relatively big dollars. But if you look at where the other one of ones, there's like 5 or 6 one of ones in that Panini Prism set, and the first ones were going for like 130, 140. Again, I'm not a Prism aficionado per se, but the other one of ones, which may be better one of ones, I'm not exactly sure of the hierarchy in modern cards, we're going for significantly more than that 62,000. So some of the World Cup buzz, Messi buzz is dropping off. That's why I'm reading that a little bit.
Yeah.
But some of this other stuff, I mean, looks pretty dang strong.
Yeah.
Just the prices. This one had 4 different Ronaldos, and they all looked cool. This immaculate, and they had some cool patches and stuff like that, and cool things. And for I do believe time will be nice to CR7.
Yeah.
And if on card autos, the original ones or early ones carry a premium, that may be a good buy as well.
And I would say probably right now, relative to Messi, he would be the buy, right?
I've bought a couple Ronaldos recently.
Yeah, I think that he's just a little depressed in value at the moment, just on a relative basis. Who knows long term, but
yeah.
All right, here's a 7.5 BGS 7 or BVG 7.5.
Big difference.
Aquarela for 21.6. So that sold for more than the PSA 6.
Yeah, which is surprising to me. And I think I looked at this. I thought it looked okay, but I get super nervous with Beckett. And
honestly, the centering looks a little not as good in this one. And
I had some questions on the back, I think, from what I recalled. But this is a great result for the seller, given a couple yellow lights that I saw around this. This was a good oh yeah, shoot, I thought that was a PSA 8. I forget where the PSA 8 was. So that's about, I mean, to me, I still think that's a mega value card in the long run at 20,000. There's 40 of them. It's going to be an epic hobby card as long as this hobby exists. So 20,000 seems like a really good deal for that card in my eyes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. Like, I mean, there aren't many, was there 2010s or something like that? So, like, I mean, that's the 21st best Messi,
Yeah.
All right, this is a PSA 8 Beckenbauer rookie.
Yeah, so this is the one that had the scuffing on the front from what I recall.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those similar to the Maradona discussion. We don't want to make this whole show about grading.
Yeah, we don't want to bum everybody out.
But that was, and then what do you think that Fati, that was interesting to me because it's the one of one. That I forget what they call that, but that design.
The Padparaja.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I know I butchered that. So you're welcome.
It's the one of ones though, with that pink, sapphire stuff. Pretty cool looking card. I bet that would have been at some point a $50,000, $50,000 card, or more. And obviously that's the prospect game.
Hopefully he put stuff back together, man. But I know he tore his knee up. But
yeah, I wish him the best. And then so there's a PSA 8 for 6,000. Wow, that seems like a hell of a deal to me.
Yeah, I have to look and see what the pops are for the 9s. But yeah, that's like a third of the price of the 9. So I almost think I would rather the 9 at the 20 than the 8 at the 7.
Yeah, yeah. I think that 9's just like kind of a next level because of how few 9s and 10s there are.
Yep.
There's the Beckenbauer TTT for almost 6. This one looked a little faded to my eyes. I don't know if it's the scan or whatever, but it just looked like the coloring was slightly off. We don't normally see these soaked, so that would have been my first thought normally.
Yeah.
But since they use the rubber glue in Germany, you rarely see them soaked, so that's not an issue. I just wasn't sure if it was a scan. And again, this is kind of the frustrating thing about buying cards always over, using scans, is that sometimes scanners are different and they pick up things differently. So
yeah,
certainly a lot of these cards will have pieces of other ones. That the TTTs are notoriously poorly cut.
Yeah.
I think they call them hand cut in PSA. They're not really hand cut. They're factory cut, but
just poorly
done. So I love this sticker myself, but the coloring on this kept me away. A 6 is a pretty high grade for the sticker, and $6,000 in fault. It is a lot of money for that type of sticker. A very rare sticker. I again, if you believe in this market for 10-15 years, I think you'll do well with that one.
All right, here's the 71 Zico for $4 grand. That's what, a 2 miscut.
Yeah, I mean, most of these are miscut, and
Yeah.
most of them are even worse than this one. It's not the best copy I've seen out there, but I've definitely seen worse as well. So, I'd say it's a middle of, as bizarre as this is, a PSA 2 is middle of the road to good. And I think the pop has got to be less than 10, although I'll double check that while we're talking.
All right.
I feel like he gets some love on certain cards and stickers for sure. Zico does.
Yeah. All right. Well,
lots of modern stuff,
Yeah, that's there's a couple of Fock rings. One received bids, the PSA 7. The PSA 4 didn't get a bid from 1,000. So that's that. There was a couple. I wanted to do the it's the Vintage Elite auction.
Yeah.
From Golden that ended in the middle of the month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually on the Zico rookie, I just checked. They're now differentiating the color of the ink on the back, which I think the standard is the blue. There are 6 of those, 1 PSA 6 and 2 authentics and 3 PSA 2s. So, yep, basically middle of the road, upper tier. There's one with black ink. I've never seen one of those, a PSA 2. And then there's a PSA 4 with red ink. But in total, there's 6, 7, 8 graded. There's more of them than that. Don't think that there's 8's the number, but there's 8 graded as of today. Still a pretty tough sticker.
No, for sure. All right. More Aquarellas. This is a 4 that went for 7,200. Looks pretty comparable to the others.
And the 5 went for 10 grand, and then the 6 went for 20, right?
6 went for like 16, 18, and the 7.5 went for 20.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, here's a bloomer, 6.5. This is Clark. Okay, so yeah, definitely a lot rarer than the Wills version. For 4,500, seems like a solid price. I feel like it probably, I'm biased, but I feel like that is actually a really good card to hold on to, just because you don't see nearly as many of the Clarks.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the difference. Again, this is going to be a graded comparison, which isn't necessarily has anything to do with the real life situation, but the Wills has 38 graded, and of those 38, ironically, let's see, in a 6 there's 12, and then there's 2 7s and 1 8, so 36. And then for a point of comparison, the Clark has 8.
Okay, so 5-1.
Yeah, basically, and the 6.5 is by far the highest. The next highest is a 4. So this is the highest graded of the Clarks, which itself is the highest or the most difficult of these 1902s. So there definitely is a premium built into that price. And I think it's a good result probably for seller and buyer there.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, here's a PSA 2 Maradona.
I don't remember looking at this one that closely, but
no.
But 4,100 for a 2 right now, probably about right. Definitely has got the notches. You can definitely read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a good 2 to me from
quick glance.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that feels like a decent buy then at that price, I think.
I feel like that's a decent buy.
Yeah. All right. These matchbooks, getting a decent price, really. It's not something I personally look to collect, but it's a cool thing they issued in Brazil, for the champs. So
yeah, it's a cool memento.
Let's see it, 2.5. 78 crack Maradona for 1,800. Those have really dropped.
Yeah.
I've really been keeping an eye on those recently to look to add.
If you're looking, if you don't have that one in your collection and it's a nice looking, good eye appeal, especially higher than a 2, meaning that it has never been stuck. I think, the sweet spot for this, because of the drop, I really think is in this PSA 2.5 to 4 range, where you can pick up a really beautiful sticker that is actually, in the top, quartile of graded copies for reasonable money. In what's a really attractive, important sticker in my book. One of probably the top 20 stickers in the hobby in terms of importance to me.
Yep, I agree with that. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just getting into, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But definitely some, that bloomer, that's nice to see, at least just as a collector pre-war.
Yep.
Okay. So there was a couple other, there was a PSA 3 George Best that sold for 1,380. Just thought I would bring it up for conversation.
1,380. Wow. And you sold yours for like 9,000, right?
Yeah, the a 4 for 9,600 out the door. So those, I mean, that was definitely a I mean, just looking at populations, like, it's just, if you're not at the 6-7 range, I mean, there's like, whether it's a 5 or a 2.5, I mean, there's so few in between those that you're just not going to pull. You really shouldn't be pulling a premium from a 4 compared to a 3. You know what I mean? Just because they're so low, like on the bell curve. Oh, this is a terrible question.
I saw it and I just I needed to look away. You can tell the story.
I'm just gonna put right during the boom, particularly of vintage, So it was like the fall of 2020. There was an auction, and there was a Bloomer Bane Shield available. And now looking at the price, it's just ridiculous. But we were because Al and I have been doing this for so long, we're anchored into the values. So we think, like we were having a hard time at that point
Calibrating.
in reacting to the new pricing. And so seeing something sell for a couple $1,000s, that we've never seen that before, it just it was hard to get over that. And so unfortunately Al stopped bidding on that, and did not get it. A beautiful one too. And actually, didn't Noel get it?
Yeah, so that was the only good thing, is that Noel ended up getting it. So I think that at least it's kind of still in the collecting community.
Yeah.
But for a while there, it was extra painful, not thinking that it went away, forever. But at least it ended up in a really good home. But that was painful. I couldn't like forgive
That's probably
myself.
one of the top 5 that have gotten away, right?
Yeah, that really was pain. Like literally, I felt physical pain for a while.
Yeah.
Of letting that one go, because that's really, I mean, I needed the Shield, and I have like the Meredith and Wharton and other ones, and Fatty Folk, and I really wanted that one. Now I don't feel nearly as bad, and this may seem bizarre, of letting the St. Pete go. I felt badly, but it was just such a chunk of change that in time I'll probably feel, after 5 years and I don't see another one, I'll probably feel badly.
Yeah.
But for now, I didn't feel that badly. The Bloomer Bane Shield though
And those things are just so beautiful, that's like also part of it, is just the eye appeal. Like that's something I would enjoy looking at all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
I just pulled out my Wharton Shield the other day, and even though it's black and white, I mean, the fragility and the printing and everything is just, it's so amazing. It truly is an artifact.
Yeah. I mean, those are they're amazing. Like I love those. And because a lot of those were made to order, from what I understand, right? And like people could order like specific players or teams if it was not the normal ones that they would print up. And I mean, not that Bloomer or Meredith would be in those, but
Yeah.
anyway, on to
yeah, it's not, don't worry, it's not that touchy. I mean, look, we all have things that
way to
got
ruin
away.
his birthday.
Yeah. We all have stuff to get away. That gets away. It's just,
oh, totally.
Thanks for opening that wound and pouring the salt in.
Yeah.
That's all good.
I don't feel that bad for you. All right. And then I think, oh yeah, and that was really the only other one I want to talk about, is just how those dropped. And then finally, we're just gonna look at the past month of weeklies. I'm just gonna scroll down from the highest price, and we'll talk about anything that catches our eye.
Yeah, and those, there have been some. I mean, that's actually kind of the good thing about looking at the weeklies. There have been some good stuff on the weeklies, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. So all right. PSA 5 for 11.7.
Pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Look at, there's that Ronaldo I was talking about.
Yeah, the 8 for just under 10. Now this was a surprise, right? Like this.
Yeah, I hate that grade, because I hate that they cut it right there.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that card at all. So I'd way rather be the seller of that, just because I don't like it. But
yeah, I think I agree.
I'm not. I also am cognizant this was intended by record to be cut this way. If you look at the back,
yeah, but then just the way they printed it with the outline, and then there's no outline, the border. There's no red border in the middle.
Exactly. So if it would have been cut perfectly without the red, which I think you can do on this card, like almost no red border, I may feel a little bit better. But I just don't. I don't love it, and so good to the seller in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, a PSA 8 Zidane for 7,800. Those have really dropped.
Yeah, and that's that. I didn't look at this one carefully because I also looked at the holder, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's the
what a
big
pain in the
holder.
ass to get that changed. It's in that big holder. There's no reason that such a beautiful card belongs in a holder like that. But if that is a clean 8, I think there's value there in the long term as well.
That's one of the biggies.
Yep.
All right, pretty consistent to the other one. This one's 72. The other one was 68 or whatever. So we kind of discussed that. Here's a Titulares 2.5.
Okay, so this did go. So when I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, that looks like a really good price for. I think it was like 3,000 then at that point, and the back looked incredibly clean. Really, really nice card. And yeah, so it's like 50, 57. Okay, even that I still think it's a mega good price.
Yeah, I agree. This is the set of the Pele that Al was talking about, the 63 San Giorgio.
And that's a beautiful card, incredibly high grade. Yeah, big price.
I think that is a fair price. It's a big price, but I think I just feel like there's been a lag with Bobby Moore stuff, and at some point he'll catch up to some of the others. I mean, we'll see, but I mean, he does play. He is on the back line, so it's not nearly as sexy. So it's people are less likely to.
So would you rather have that or the TTT Beckenbauer?
Oh, I'd rather the Beckenbauer, no question.
I would too, but still, this is an important, very important hobby card that not a lot of people know about. I was kind of glad to see that a couple people at least knew about this. And I love the Florian Albert. As well. That's beautiful, beautiful. I think it had the yellow background on that one, if I remember. So yeah, that Bobby Moore is pretty great though, and a PSA 8 in that series is hard because it just takes a little bit of a bend. And those are so thin to get downgraded.
And really the reason is that it's a 63. So I think there's 62 Bobby Moores. So I mean, that's part of the reason why I, immediately say Beckenbauer. And just because I know Beckenbauer is accepted as a top 10 player of all time. So
yeah. I mean, there is, and I'm pretty sure, and I know that I can picture the 63 album that has this sticker in there. I think it's a case similar to the Cruyff that I think there are some 62 albums, but there's really no way to tell the difference in the sticker. So, but I think they're all getting graded now as 63s. And, I would personally feel better if it was 62, 63 based on what I've seen. This one's got notches. You can read the stuff.
Yeah, very clear.
Nice printing. I feel like this one would pass my test. And I'd be bidding on this one. Where did this one go? 2.5 for 4,400. That feels like a deal to me.
Yep. Of course, now we gotta.
Yeah, I hate that. Gotta re-scroll.
The stuff I bitch about.
Yeah, first world problems. Right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, a PSA 6, Sicker Verlag, Cruyff, for 4,000. That feels that feels pretty good. It feels like I would want to be the buyer there.
Yeah, I think I would want to be the buyer here. I think that this one had a little bit of issues. It had some kind of fraying on the right quarter. It also had some this was a consecutive cert to some other questionable cards we've seen.
Gotcha.
Out in the hobby, and the colors look a little less vibrant than some of the other copies.
Yeah, the yellow is dull for sure.
Yeah, and then the eyes look a little green and less defined on Cruyff. So I think there was just a couple reasons to
steer clear.
Be wary. I wouldn't steer completely clear, but just a couple questions. I don't think this is a market where you need to be buying cards that have any questions.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
And so, while if you told me this was a nice, crisp, no question PSA 6, I'd say that's cheap, $4,000. But with the questions, I'm like, okay, it's probably okay. I didn't think there's a ton of value there on that one.
Okay. PSA 6 Kitty.
Big price, but big grade. This is a
Yeah.
tough one to get that high, and I was a little surprised. I was hoping to pick this up, if it went a little lower. Yeah, it looks like you were too, right? I mean, $4,000.
I just put a marker bid. I wasn't like serious. Like right at the beginning of the week, I always go through and marker bid
and put
everything.
I mean, look at but I mean it's one of those cards where you'd be like, this is impressive. I mean,
yeah,
outside of the a couple of the earlier ones, the biscuit one from probably 52, and then Nina, this is probably my preferred 54.
I agree.
Love the portrait, and this is the highest rated copy. So, why should we not expect a big price on it? So, I was just hoping it would go a little lower, so it could have gone into my collection. But congrats to whoever got it.
All right, a 7 for 4,000. I think now we're getting into the point where like once you get into 7s, everything's like just a mash of like all the grades. So like a 7 compared to a 6 really isn't that, to me, materially different for me to pay a premium.
Yeah. And $4,000 is still a lot of money, right?
Totally.
So.
All right, here's a 6 Bruguera Di Stefano for 3,600.
That surprised me.
Yeah, I was surprised at the price. On the positive side.
Yeah, that went way higher than I expected it to go.
Yeah.
And this is one of the blank back. There's lots of these from 1953 that have
advertisements and
yeah, and this one is the blank back, so it's like less interesting to me. But I think it's a big price for that sticker, but it's beautiful, and it's I can't say I don't know. I'm on that 6 Puskas. Do I think it'll hold up? I don't know. I mean, I think long term, maybe, especially if it doesn't get usurped by another card, another grade. I think there's risk in it.
I think that there's a lot. I would say I don't feel comfortable paying that because it's the top grade. I feel like the price is, if you wanted to be aggressive to get a good copy of it, I'm totally cool with that. But I wouldn't do that expecting that 6 to hold.
Yeah. I would say that, I'll just tell you kind of in my frame of mind, I was willing to probably go to 2,500 on that. And that's about double what the PSA 3 would typically be, I think, in this market. And so it went, a couple grand or, whatever, $1,500 more
than like I would 3x instead of 2x.
Yeah, that I would have expected. So, to me, that's a little rich on the risk reward basis now, and I wasn't trying to fill a hole in my collection. Right. So I was just looking at it. Hey, if I get this for 2,500, I'll feel really good about it going forward for the long run. It went for significantly more, and so there's a little bit more risk there. Would it surprise me if a 7 came out of the woodworks? No, right? Yeah. So especially if we're looking at a multi-year, time frame. So that highest graded premium goes away.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Di Stefano disc, PSA 1 for $3,000.
Yeah, a lot of discussion. These aren't getting graded anymore.
Yeah.
So, and Bill and I have made our opinions known. We like this, and we would continue to have them as part of our collection. We wouldn't necessarily be buyers or sellers, but
correct.
But it's part of our collecting heritage.
Yep.
And these were available well before any of the questions came up about them, of many players that don't matter. And will we ever fully know the case behind them? Potentially not. And I personally would still add the one that I'm missing out of the 3 different versions.
Yeah. All right. Just do a real quick scroll and just let me know if anything.
Okay.
Pops up.
Those were stop there. Go up to this Pele. This Olympico one. The far right.
Yeah.
So this was a massive price, and there's a lot of them from this album, which is pretty scarce album. And this one went for $3,000. Think of that, a 1966, sticker. Which, by the way, with this particular photograph is used in like 15 different issues.
Yeah,
and it goes for like $3,000. That really kind of blew me away in a market strength statement, right? So I guess if you're a Pele completionist, this is a super tough one, but that would be the only rationale where I'd say, oh, I'm willing to just pay $3,000 for this.
Yeah, and there is one graded higher, so it's that's you're not buying it or you're not paying that price because it's the top grade, So
look at this 6 for $2,800.
Oh wow, this was sold a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy value there.
Yes, I agree with that.
And then there's the you see this other you see the Athlon 8,
yeah,
and this looked good, and this was $3,000. I thought this hit low. I thought this was another tremendous value card here, and this looked real. There's always been questions on which ones were real here. This looked real to my eyes.
Okay. This kind of surprised me. The Titolare supplement PSA 5 going for $2,400. It's never been a desired issue.
Well, you only get half his face, right?
Yeah, but you get half more than if you didn't buy it.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's the highest graded. So if you're going for the PSA Pele registry,
I think I have a 2.
You got to get that. Yeah. So a 5 is a high grade in any titulares. Don't get me wrong. So, that
exactly.
may have been something there. This isn't my cup of tea. I've never liked this just because of that.
I kind of like it.
Well, good. Well, you can get it
because you don't like it. That's why I like it. All right, PSA 8, Messi. I think that's kind of hit like a happy place. Like that's kind of what they're going for now. 2,000, 2,500 for the Este.
Yeah.
A PSA 2. I can't tell much difference for 2,200. So that's where I'm buying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we go to
this was fun.
Yep. The 1896. General interest. This is the Athersmith PSA 6, which is a good grade.
Very good grade.
For 1,900.
Very strong price.
Yeah. And then there's also the Bassett.
I don't know.
I think that went for like about 1,700.
Where did that? Can you go up to the 70 Pele up there? Let's see. Where did that?
Yeah, I was going to scroll back.
Okay.
But this is a PSA 8. Went for 1,900. This is the multi-language.
Yeah. Seems like probably some good value there in the long
term. I'm pissed that I don't own one of these. So I am looking to buy one, but I'm really wishy-washy on what I want to buy, So
That's a good one. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's only a couple 9s and, out of personally, I like the black and red as my preferred back, and that's the one there. So
yeah. All right. I think we're getting into a 1.5 for 1,500.
Wow, look at that. Look at the CR7 rookie PSA 5, $1,500. Wow. So you can, now this is where you start to get into, you could really, put together some really nice cards.
Yeah.
That Neymar 8.5, that's a monster grade on that.
Yeah, that's a high grade. Usually you're happy to get in that 3 range, 3 or 4.
And the 8.5, and usually Beckett on the cards I trust more.
I agree with that.
1400 on that Pele right there, that other 66. This is the more common German issue, but a PSA 8, that's pretty big. The Aquarella is holding strong. We've said that a number of times in the video. So
yeah. Oh, here's the Bassett.
Where did see? I lost that Maldini. I think that's a key card as well. For what did it go for? 1200?
Yep, 1230 for a 3. So yeah,
it's just not many out there of that card. So that I remembered. I couldn't remember where I saw it, but I'm like, man, I should pick that up. And pretty good price on the Bassett.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like whoever bought these is going to be happy long term, and just throw it in your safe deposit box or whatever, and don't look at it for 20 years.
Yeah, it's hard to get
one of the oldest cards you can get.
6.
So.
Yeah, and a 6 is a pretty monster grade.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we went through
so that's
plenty.
Not Pele. Can you just show? I was just gonna say show the Pele that. Forget who had asked that about if you had $500. It would be a lower grade. Well, whatever. It was on the screen there. If you just rewind.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually tabbed out.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just the San Giorgio. Since we had talked about that card earlier, it was on your screen there. I guess it had sold for $1,000, but that was a 6. So you can get lower grades for $500. That was my only point.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So,
but good, solid collector. Market. Some shows of strength in certain cards. Others little bit of weakness. But that's what every market has, right? Every bull market has some new high stocks and a bunch of new lows. And I mean, every bear market and every bull market has lots of highs and some new lows. So that's kind of what is going to happen. And you can expect that to happen. As time goes on and preferences change, new information's found, new copies are found. So, but I'm liking where it is, dripping a little bit here, a little bit there, everything pretty much additive, and having a good time. And sorry, I haven't been that, active on the Discord. Just been super busy traveling and lots of work.
But you know what? That's the thing. Like, the Discord's going to be there, right? And it's like we're going to. Everybody's lives are getting fuller. We're filling it up with other things. So we're not on the Discord the whole time. And, it's, this is more what reality is, we're busy. And then when we have time, we pop in, and that's it. So, anyway, appreciate everybody, participating today. It was fun. Al, always a pleasure. Happy birthday, my man.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Have a great weekend. Glad we could do that a little earlier for the people out there in Europe. And join us on the Discord. Join the community. It's super fun to collect soccer cards and stickers. So take care, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for watching.